It's not easy to ask for help, and it's not easy to find the help.
Yeah.
Even today, that was 2014 when I was looking. Today, I said I'm going to follow the same track that I did, the journey that I did back then, to see if it's gotten any better, and it hasn't.
Mm,
So that's huge for
yeah.
folks coming out. You don't get that transition where you um, have counseling. There's a lot of
Mhm.
counseling needed.
Hey, I'm Tine Zekas, your pivot and pay strategist. I help Black women double their income by leveraging their existing skills. I am all about getting Black women paid, whether you're an employee or a business owner. And you're listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. Let's go. Hello and welcome to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. I'm your host, Tine Zekas, international speaker, award-winning author, founder and CEO of Getting Black Women Paid, and your Audacity coach. We have a guest episode today, and I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. We are going to be talking about getting Black women veterans paid. But first, I want to introduce you to our guest. Naomi Reynolds is a U.S. Army veteran, author, speaker, and passionate advocate for women veterans. After facing life-altering changes, including homelessness, grief, and the struggle to reintegrate after military service, Naomi made it her mission to help other women reclaim their lives and rise beyond adversity. She brings powerful insight from both her military background and her leadership experience in the corporate world. And she's become a voice of strength, resilience, and healing. Through her work, she supports mental health awareness, champions policy change, and inspires others to turn pain into purpose. All right, let's get right to it. Well, hello, Naomi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, team. I'm tempted to say Christine,
Yeah, my
but it's nice to meet you. I like your name, team.
thank you. You got the government name as well. Yeah. Well, Naomi, I'm so fascinated by your story, and I know our listeners want to know more even just after that intro. So I'd love to start with, your origin story and how you came to be doing the work that you do today.
Well, thank you. Well, I grew up in what we call the military generation. My dad was in World War II, and his twin brothers were, and one of my aunts was WAC back in the day. So
Wow.
I was just I really loved knowing about the military, how it works, the strategies. So I was always obsessed with it from a little girl. But I grew up in Dallas, Texas, during segregated times. Um, Went to Lincoln High School. Had a great school background journey. I guess I would say I was in the band, participated in all kinds of sports and activities, and I was excited. And one day, some recruiters came to our school and made their pitch, and I fell for it. I
You've
decided
already been primed, though.
I was ready. I was ready. All they had to do was say, where do I sign? And then, of course, back then, I had to get my mom and dad's permission because even at 18, you couldn't go into the military on your own. You had to be 21. So they signed as long as I stayed in the country. So I joined the military and I loved it. I still do. A lot of us will say if they called us today to come back, we'd go back.
Mm,
But there are a lot of experience growing up. We're around all of us 18, 19-year-olds. So first time from home, meeting a lot of people, and there were at least maybe 1,000 men to one woman. So that was a little bit overwhelming to be in that
yeah,
environment. I had never slept away from home. You know how they have sleepovers today? We didn't do that back in the day. You stayed
right.
at home at night. So it was great. And then I met someone and uh, dated for a while, and then one night I was drugged and taken to his barracks. And the next day I felt something had gone wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't even realize that you don't go to the barracks, you don't go to the men's barracks, so I wouldn't have done that freely at all.
Right.
But the next day, of course, I asked, well, what happened? What did you give me? It was the question. What drug did you give me? Oh, I didn't give you any drugs, blah, 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 blah. So, anyway, a few months later, I found out I was pregnant. Back then,
Ooh,
you couldn't stay in the military if you were pregnant or if
right.
you had children. Um, so that was a devastating time. A lot of the girls, the only place you could go legally for an abortion then was Colorado or New York, mostly New York.
Yeah.
So that's what most of the women did back then, but it was still illegal. And I'm a criminal justice major, so in my mind,
Right. Not a bad.
one, I want my baby. That's of me, and the other is it's not legal to do anything else. Now it's just all over the place. But anyway, so I had my daughter. She's beautiful, and coming into today, she's giving me two great grandkids. Um,
Wonderful.
Yeah, they are beautiful. One's up in Virginia going to college. That's my granddaughter, and my grandson will graduate this year, and he's into engineering and tearing things apart and put them together. So he's going to continue that in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I over the years after raising my daughter, and I achieved my own success in careers working for the Dallas Police Department, the Dallas Fire Department, arson investigation, and then I went on to work for Southland Corporation, Starbucks, and Walmart, opening stores, hiring people. I enjoyed it. Fast-paced retail for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I was a supervisor and ended up in College Station for a while, College Station, Texas, where A&M is, in a smaller store. Then I decided to break off from that and went into my own business for a while and, kind of traded. Then my daughter got married, which I was excited for her. I definitely wanted that for her. I wanted to have a natural, whatever you want to call natural family, a husband and kids, the two dogs and a home and
Yeah.
successful. And she achieved that. So I'm excited about that for her. But I kind of lost myself at that point. Um, I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't have a purpose anymore. I just
Mm.
didn't have a purpose. And I said, well, okay. And, when you talk about homelessness, a lot of people think somebody on the street laying on the corner. It's not always that. It's what we call couch surfing or visiting one relative for a while, then another relative, but you're not,
Right.
so I found myself doing that. And then I said to myself, and a little bit of drugs, a little bit of alcohol. And I knew that wasn't me. I mean, I had higher goals. I was
Mhm.
always the first this and the first that, during those days. So
Yeah.
I was a high achiever and I knew that, but I got lost somewhere along the way. And I finally found my way to the VA and I asked for help. It's not easy to ask for help, and it's not easy to find the help.
Yeah.
Even today, that was 2014 when I was looking. Today, I said I'm going to follow the same track that I did, the journey that I did back then, to see if it's gotten any better, and it hasn't.
Mm.
So that's huge for
Yeah.
folks coming out. You don't get that transition where you um, have counseling. There's a lot of
Mhm.
counseling needed. People tell me today, do you hate that guy or what? No, I put that on our government. He had been in Vietnam. All of the guys we met during that time were Vietnam
Mhm.
veterans. They had seen death. They needed help too.
Right.
So no, I didn't hate him, but I again, it was a failure on the part of our government, and it still is. And I'm
Mhm.
hoping to see changes for everybody in the military. Because if you come out of a war,
Yeah.
I don't know if you were still living during Vietnam or if you were born, not living, but I don't know if you were born during Vietnam War, but that was a hell of a war. I can remember sitting at the dinner table every night by 6 o'clock. That's what we did. We watched the reels from overseas, and it was
Right.
horrific. So, anyway, I raised my daughter, and admitted myself into the VA hospital in Dallas. They have what they call a domiciliary. That's where you go and you stay for 90 days. You get all the help you need. You get
Mhm.
therapy. You find your records if you need them. They help you do some claims if you have money coming, and do your dental, everything from head to toe to make sure you're healthy. And then they help you
Yeah.
find somewhere to live. Now, it's not that easy. Even when you're in there, you have to have some get up and go yourself, or you won't be successful there. So I stayed my 90 days and got the hell out of there. But I had a nice appointment and a voucher, and I started to work from home. I did a lot of work from home, and the VA has a program for rehabilitation that will help you to find work, and to get yourself settled. So they bought me my desktop and got me set up so I could work from home. So I worked
Mhm.
from home until COVID actually happened. So
So you were remote before it was cool.
I was remote before it was cool. That's
Yeah.
right. And I still see a great place for it, especially for people like myself. I have a mental health illness, PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder due to military sexual trauma.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. Um, you don't ever get over it, but you learn to cope with it through therapy. You prepare yourself. If this happens, what will I do other than to think about killing myself? And suicidal ideation is huge.
Yeah.
I think this week we just heard of a couple of people that killed themselves. And, I will say that a lot of times the VA's programs and the way they operate can drive you to suicide. And that's unfortunate, but I've been very vocal about it, and I
Yeah.
will continue to be vocal about it, because my recent experience was I got a letter. I'm 100%, which is good. I get all the care I need, and I get financial support, and
Yeah.
I don't have to go out. I'm an isolationist. I stay in the house with my two dogs. I bought a house 3 years ago, so I don't go out. I'm 75, so I've lived a good life. I don't need to go out, but your therapist say, "Oh, you need to be around people." I don't see it that way anymore,
Mm.
but that's part of my mental health. But I've done some equestrian aquatics therapy with horses. Love
Mhm.
that a lot. But the VA, we're hopeful that things will get better. I know a lot of people probably saw Secretary of War yesterday with all the people they brought in, everybody,
Yeah.
to talk about that. And we had women's veterans scheduled in DC for the 7th, but they canceled it due to the shutdown. But
Right.
they will reschedule it. I'm going to stay on them until they reschedule it because only 100 women can go.
Yeah.
They do like they did with the admirals and generals, just bring us all in somewhere, so we can all hear what's ahead for us. But I would say most recently, my fight is they lowered my compensation to
Mm.
less than half. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it was huge. It is huge. They haven't
Wow.
reinstated me yet. Um, I've complained. I've written about it. It's in my book. I have some information about that in my book. And I think the second book will talk about where we are from this point,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's next for us. So if we get before Secretary Collins, Secretary of the VA, we have a lot to talk about, because the VA, its own inspector general, has found a lot of discrepancies in how the claims are done, how the pension is handled, and
Hmm.
all of that. So it's a lot of darkness over the VA right now. So I always say I'm not dogging the VA. I'm not saying anything out of school. Their own inspector general has determined this.
Right.
It can be looked up. So it's not me spreading gossip or anything. It's
Right. Right. No,
so
it's a known issue.
we got
Absolutely.
the receipts. Yeah, we got the receipts.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I enjoyed I found it really good when I went to the domiciliary. Now, we don't have a lot of places like that for women to go for treatment. There's one in Waco. One of my contacts in DC told me there's one in Florida. And then, of course, they got Tunnel to Towers. I think that's a magnificent program. I wish they had had that when I was going through.
Hmm.
Very nice. They take the old hotels and convert them, and that's where people live. But these things aren't for people to live forever. I think that's what
Right.
gets lost. You're supposed to go in there and get the help you need, and then, you're still gonna need the therapy. I'm still in therapy. I had a session the other day. I like to talk things over, even if I'm not out there in the world as much
Yeah.
as most people are. You still got to talk. And I think probably the worst thing for me in this whole process was my mental health led my daughter to not want me around, you know,
Mm.
for years. So I didn't lost touch with my grandkids, although now they'll call me a kid. They don't call. Nobody calls anybody. They'll text. Pick
Right.
up the phone.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but they'll text. So occasionally now, I did go to Virginia to visit my granddaughter when she first moved up there because I
Mhm.
couldn't get any information from anybody, how she was doing, how the move goes. So I got on a plane and went up there,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was wonderful, And so we keep in touch. They're excited about the book, and I sent them the video of the introduction for the book. So they're thrilled, and that's why I wrote the book. It's for a couple of things. One, for the veterans of today, because the laws that are hurting us began in 1948 and all the way to 1975 until the court said, "Ooh, you did wrong. Go back and find those women and
Right.
take care of them. You owe them." And as of today, 40 years later, it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So we're getting all the women veterans together that may have something they need to talk about, one way or the other, whether it's health, mental health, their claims. I don't profess to be an expert at claims because the VA has gotten the claim process where you almost do need a lawyer. I used
Right.
to think it was awful. Why would you get a lawyer for your own benefits? I know now. I'm in it right now. And
Yeah.
I did have to get a lawyer. So we'll see how that ends up, but I don't plan to give up. And we have to get things better for the people coming up the ranks. It has to all
Absolutely.
change. It was like one of the ladies said 8,000 rapes in the military last year. That's a lot.
Last year alone.
Last year alone.
Wow.
And it was high. We thought it was high when we were in. And everybody's trying to think, well, what are we going to do differently? And I'm a training fanatic. If you ever go to the army, you're going to come out as a person who likes developing people, training and developing.
Yeah.
And my thing is, you're going to have to start from the first day they come in. Some of that has to happen for the men and the women about relationships. you know,
Right.
you gotta talk. They'll talk about venereal disease and sex stuff like that, but they don't talk about relationships because if
Right.
you're a woman thrust into those many men chasing you, it's almost overwhelming. I'll put it that way. It's
Yeah.
hard to manage at some point, because I hadn't dated before I went into the military, so I was green as apples, and then when I met this guy, I was still during my senior year. I had endometriosis and some other things, and it was projected that you'll never get pregnant. So
Mm.
you tell a youngster that, I'm like, okay, then I got nothing to worry about. But then
Right.
it happens, and you're like, wow, okay, Lord, she's my blessing. That's all I can think. She's
Yeah.
my blessing. And I've never had any more kids. She's my only child, and I've never been married. So that tells you a little bit about the mental health of it all. Um,
Absolutely.
my mother and my dad stayed together until they both died. They had been together for almost 50 years. And then dad died of cancer. And then
Mm.
about 5 years later, mom died. And I could remember, it's seven of us. I could remember my mom saying, they get in arguments and fights and stuff the way they did back in the day. And
Right.
we would say, why are y'all together? Maybe y'all should split up. And mom said, I will never, ever leave your dad because I never want to have any other man over my children.
Mm,
And I was like, whoa, what's that about? But it followed me.
yeah,
I wasn't going to have somebody over my daughter. That's a mental thing, of course, but
yeah,
um, I don't feel like I deprived myself of anything. When you look back on it, I think, I'm still healthy. The knees are cracking up. I went to the VA and got a steroid shot yesterday, but I may have to replace the knees. But otherwise,
mm,
I'm functioning very well. And I'm
yeah.
looking forward to promoting the book. So, it's the journey of life. But my purpose, of course, are my veterans, our
Absolutely.
veterans. And we got to get in there. I don't know what will happen after this 4-year reign of this administration, but whatever it is, while they're changing stuff and
Yeah,
looking at stuff with a microscope, it's time for us to jump in too.
yeah,
Wait,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and for you know, being in that vulnerable space because it's so important for um, for all of us to see what the realities are, right? And you touched on so many things that I want to make sure I highlight for folks. Um, One is um, both the trauma that you experienced, but that you are now using to fuel, your mission for reform, right? And really seeing the systemic issues, right? Because your trauma, your traumatic experience was inflicted by someone else who also had experienced trauma, and that there's this cycle, and that the systems in place are failing us, right? It's not necessarily the individuals,
Hmm.
but that these systems are failing our military and our veterans. And I love that you um, kind of address it from that lens, but that you don't also neglect the individual, right? You need the mental health support, and you are doing the work for that. I want to highlight that for everyone because,
Hmm.
girl, all of us need therapy. So if you're listening to this, right, that no matter what your story is, and the places where you can relate to Naomi's story and the places where you can't, we all need to be focused on our own mental health
Amen.
before we can serve others. So many of us are in those roles where we are parenting, or taking care of communities and
Mhm.
our jobs and all the things, and we're not taking care of ourselves. So I love that you also highlight that piece in your work. um, I'm wondering, well, I want to clarify one thing for folks because I'm not sure exactly when this will air, but we are recording on October 1st, and the government shutdown started at midnight. um,
Yeah.
and so I wanted to reiterate kind of the timing of this because I'm not quite sure when we'll air this, but so that's sort of the context that we're talking in. But you did mention your book, and I would love for you to share with us the
Oh.
title of the book, where folks can find it. Let it tell us.
All right. It is now on Amazon.com, and
Mhm.
it's from battle scars to benefits. And then the tagline, the relentless pursuit of healing, strength, and rightful rewards.
Mm.
That's it. Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes. Yes.
And I know that will resonate with other veterans, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering, for those of us who are not veterans,
Mm.
what kinds of things can we find if we, what do we gain from reading your book?
You will get to know a little bit more about me, and my path. But you'll also hear about a lot of other women that I will introduce you to in the book. And as the readers read it, I would say definitely veterans will recognize themselves in it, but everyday people could also recognize themselves in it. You're going to find
Mm.
that that's going to be similar. We talk about suicidal ideation in the military and how folks refuse to accept it. If you bring it up in a group or something, it's like, whoa, and they don't like to talk about it, but
Right.
it's real. I saw a therapist the other day as part of my claim, And she said, "Well, how often have you had suicidal ideation?" I said, "The day that the military kicked me out is when it started.
Mm,
And it comes in intervals. It's not an ongoing process, that whole
right.
ideation." So I talk about that. I also talk about the new laws that are out and what we're trying to get done for veterans, especially those from 1948 to 1974. We are finding out that a lot of them have passed on in their
Mm,
80s, so that's the group from 1948 to 1974. So
yeah.
we're looking for them. Now, Texas has the largest number of veterans of any state, and then I think it's California and then Florida. But we have predominantly the biggest amount. So we're looking for those ladies wherever they are, or families of those ladies, because even if the veteran is not with us, the family is
Absolutely.
eligible. So
Yeah.
if you know of the history of any of these women and they're no longer with us, let us know. We want to hear from you. And we also talk about going to DC, definitely to talk about what we can do for the future as it relates to claims and benefits.
Yeah.
If you can one day send me a letter and tell me you're going to cut my benefits with no notice, not knowing what my financial situation is or how I live,
Right.
it's I don't even know how to describe that feeling when they do that to you.
Yeah.
So there's no humanity in it, is what I'll say. There's
Yeah.
no humanity in the process for veterans. And I've seen what they have gone through, at least my term during the Vietnam era. I still see those guys.
Right.
I meet people every day that were in the Vietnam War era.
Yeah.
So I know what they're going through, and we're all aging now, where we need care. And so we're looking at our care. If our family takes care of us, we want to make sure they're compensated for their time because they almost
Mhm.
have to give up their life to take care
Right.
of some of us. So we're talking about our care, but the claims, the benefits are the big part of it because so many men and women, because we have men who suffered sexual trauma as well,
Right.
so they're signing on as well. So I think the biggest group of us will probably be those of us who gave birth or who had children.
Yeah.
And then would come just, mental sexual trauma with no
Mhm.
tags to it. So I'm excited about it. There's still work to be done. We're doing some fundraisers for our ranch out here where a lot of us go for our equine therapy. So I'm going to use the book more as a fundraiser than anything else.
Yeah.
It's sort of my legacy more than anything. I wasn't trying to get rich or anything. I needed to put it all together so people could see where I was coming from and who I am. Who is she to tell me or to talk to me about it? So that's why I did the book as a legacy, and my grandkids and my daughter too. My
Yeah.
uh, my nieces and nephews saw one of the other podcasts I did, and they've looked at the book and they said, "Oh, we never knew that about Aunt Naomi," and they didn't. How do people
Yeah.
till you tell them? So
Right. Right. But there's something so powerful about sharing your story, and for those of us, um, partaking in it, to hear those stories and to see ourselves in them is so deeply powerful. And
yes, yes.
Um, so we will definitely include the link to the book, and that was it was from battle scars to benefits, which I
Yes.
love. Talk about getting paid, right?
Get paid
but
for those scars.
right, right. And so I'll have the link to that in the show notes. But before we close out, Naomi, for our listeners who are just mesmerized by you like I am, and they want to learn more, or they need support themselves.
Yeah.
I know that you've created helpingveteransthrive.com. I'm wondering if you can share, what they would find there and how it can help.
Oh, yes. And I'm real proud of it. I think my team has finished. We did a revamp of it, and I'm real proud of it. And we will be showing what we call voices on that website of different women. We're going to feature the women who are involved in the legislation and
Mm.
who the government should be still looking for. Because so that'll be on there. We talk a little bit buying a house. As I told you, I recently bought a house out in the country. I had to get out of the city; it was getting too crowded.
Right.
The border is open near Texas, so I moved to the country and bought a nice home through my VA. No down payment, like they say, but uh, don't forget about property taxes. If you're not 100% um, benefit wise, you're going to have to pay some taxes.
Sure.
So for me, that started out being about $1,500. Once I became 100%, I paid no property taxes. So that's
Mhm.
why that benefit is real important to me. But when you buy a house, we talk about that, and we're not trying to get you to buy one. We just want you to think about what else you need to think about. You
Mm.
need to have a cushion of money. You still got the pest control, you still got repairs, you still got things happening. And I think that's why I waited so long to buy a house. And now when I look at it, I love it. I love it. I love it. But it's a lot of upkeep and a cost.
Yes. Yes.
So we talk about that. We talk about military sexual trauma. I'm hopeful that I might be able to add links to the podcast that I'm on, like yours, to the
Yeah.
website as well, and they can actually buy the book on the website as
Oh,
well.
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, for everyone, any of you listening and you want to learn more, that was helpingveteransthrive.com. We'll also have that link in the description as well. But Naomi, thank you so much for joining us.
That's so much fun.
I think your story is just is really inspiring, and I appreciate you coming and sharing with us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Absolutely. And for those of you joining us, thank you for listening or watching if you're on YouTube, and we will see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Bye. Well, hey, thanks for watching the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to hit the notification bell so you can catch more episodes like this one. And join the conversation by leaving a comment below. Be sure to share this channel with the incredible Black women in your life so we can continue getting Black women paid. All right, we'll see you in the next one.